I still hear people saying that they've just got FM'd. No, you didn't. The game is not that nasty. It is not going to turn on you just because you are doing well. If the game was that nasty, none of us would win anything. You got FM'd because you failed to see something in the opposition that's really important. Today we're going to be looking at teams who are strongest on one side of the pitch. And we're going to work out how to deal with that and make sure that you don't get FM'd. Let's go and kick some balls. Hello and welcome back to FM22 with Old Man Phil. And if you are a first-time visitor to the channel, why not subscribe, watch, like and comment. Help the channel to grow and help us to support the very worthwhile cause that you can see scrolling above. And yes, I still hear people say that they are getting FM'd, but you're not. The game is not clever enough to do that. But like any game, what it is going to do is it's going to be a puzzle, and you have to solve that puzzle. And no matter how good your squad or how good your team of players, there are going to be banana skins that the game lays in front of you, and eventually you are going to slip up on one of them. If you ignore the clues that it gives you, eventually you will fall down. And so today we're going to be looking at how to play teams who are stronger on one side of the pitch than the other. And this is a very lethal potential banana skin. Now, Southampton are overachieving in the league this year, and I was wondering why, and I felt like it might be something to do with the fact they're not aggressive, brave, or very strong. So I decided to pick a midfield full of aggressive players and try to win the game by being aggressive and bullying them. But on investigation, something strange occurred, and which led me to change the central midfield and the Mazzala over. Normally my Mazzala is on the right hand side on attack and the central midfield on support on the left, but I changed them over, and then I also got the central midfield on support on that side to close down more. And the reason I was doing this is that I wanted to close down the left hand side of the pitch, because my assistant manager had told me something very, very important in the tactical meeting. He's not always right, but I decided to investigate it, and it turned out in the end to be absolutely the correct call. What I basically wanted to do is close down the left and play the game in the on our left-hand side of the field. So basically he told me to focus play through the left. And on investigation, I realized that he was absolutely correct. I also then decided to work the ball into the box, to hit early crosses rather than to work the ball into the box. I didn't want my fullbacks bombing up and down the touchline, so I kept them on support, and I was kind of hoping that they would then cross early rather than try to get to the byline, and we have some fast boys up front, and we would win the game that way. When I investigated in the opposition instructions, I looked at all the players, and they have 7 of the 10 outfield players are extremely strong on their left foot, and pretty weak or reasonable on their right foot. So what that told me was they were going to try and play the game down in the left-hand side of the pitch as they see it. So you'll see I've got a lot of weaker foot instructions, and the front three especially, they are all on their weaker foot. All those across that line there are all on their weaker foot, because what I want them to do is to drift across the pitch. And I also want them shooting on their with their right foot rather than their left foot. So I got them just basically turning them so that they drift across the pitch. The fullbacks, I'm still going to have them come inside because I want them passing or running into our strength. It was across those front three behind the striker that I wanted to make the changes. So I'd closed down their left-hand side. I was focusing on my left-hand side, and we won the game quite comfortably, really, by 2-0. If we look at it, we played well down my left-hand side in midfield, and we actually played well. Berg, Armati and Mela had good games closing down that space on their left-hand side. And so it had seemed to work. We won the possession. It was a very close game in terms of chances. They created chances, especially from set pieces, and they gave us a fright, but we were always in control because we had reacted to the instructions that we were given. Now, if you look at the heat map, you can see that most of the game we played was on the left-hand side. And so we pretty much controlled the ball by using the left-hand side of the pitch. And if you look at Southampton, then you can see they were very ineffective in terms of what they were able to do on their left. They wanted to play the ball out to their strength. They were all left-footed. They were going to play. They wanted to play on the left-hand side. We decided to play the game on our left-hand side, dominated the possession, and therefore they couldn't cause us any problems. We also didn't feature much down the right, as you can see, because we were focusing play down the left, and so pretty much the whole game was played in our left-hand side of the field, which is where Southampton were weakest in terms of their threat, because they were all left-footed players and we were forcing them out to the right. So Southampton wanted us to play the game there on the left-hand side, but we decided, no, we're going to play the game on the left-hand side, which suits us a lot better. And you can see what happens during by doing this. It drags Southampton out and leaves an awful lot of space in that little area over on the right-hand side, and we did take advantage of that. And here is Pobega. He has one of the first chances by exploiting that little area out wide on the right. And the other thing to look at is how many players actually all the time, and here it is exploited again, and Vitinha opens the scoring in less than a minute. So they were leaving a lot of space out in that area because they were being dragged onto the left-hand side of the pitch. One of the things to notice, and I've put that red line on the pitch, is so that you can see how often they have sometimes 8 players on the right-hand side of the pitch, and that's exactly what I wanted them to be. I don't want them on the left. They're very dangerous there. And so, as you can see, even now, we're looking at 8, nearly 9 players who are crammed into the top half of the field there. And they did have chances. They're a good team. They are overperforming. And but we kept them at bay. We were very good at dealing with those crosses. And by and large, they were crossing with their weaker foot from the right. And so they were not that accurate. And again, we forced them down the right and we've won the ball. And look how many players now are in our left-hand side of the pitch. And Vitinha has another chance, but this time he's offside. And again, they are crammed into the right-hand side of the pitch. There's very little threat coming from the left. And we've pretty much got them in a bottleneck over on that left-hand side. They do look to bring it down the left, and what happens when they bring it down the left, they don't have enough players in support, and we can deal with those crosses every day of the week. We have some big strong boys in central defence, and they can deal with crosses any day of the week. Again, we force them down the right, and look where all their players are. They're almost all crammed into that top half of the pitch, the left-hand side as we see it. And there are now 8 players in there. They were a threat from set pieces, and they did... I will have to make a note of that for when we play them again, to do some set-piece training, defending training, when we are looking at setting up our training for that week. But again, in the second half, they're looking to work it down the right, but they're not very strong, and we win the ball very easily. We have a throw in on their right. We don't want to be there. So we're going to try and somehow work the ball so it comes out to the left. And Shore Tires getting himself boxed in. And so Pobega realizes that, and Berg sends it over to the left. Now we've got them in the left-hand side of the pitch again. And we're going to keep it there. And so we've dragged all their players over again. And we create chances by exploiting that space on that they leave on their left-hand side. And we'll see it again very soon. But again, we're working it out to the left, and all the Southampton players are drifting across to the right-hand side of the pitch for them. We're creating an overload on the right-hand side as we see it. And we are able to create chances. But once again, we were not particularly firing very well. But if you look at that line, examine this, the number of players that Southampton have in the right-hand side of the pitch throughout the whole game is a phenomenal number. And we are about to score again soon here. First of all, Hannibal tries to exploit that space, but he's not able to. And then, once again, we're working it down the left and just dragging their players. Armati had a nightmare of a game, actually, sometimes, and he completely misjudged that long ball. And the fact that they are playing long balls suggests to me that they are struggling to know how to get into this game. And they were a threat from set pieces, but we did look after them very, very well. And when we attacked down the left, and that dragged all their players over to the left-hand side, and that created space for us on our right. Again, we're working the ball down the right. Look how many players are in their right-hand side of the field, our left. And even though they win it back, we've got enough numbers in the left-hand side of the field to win it back. And here is where that space is going to be exploited again. The full-back, if he can now get past his man, they're in trouble. And he did, and Hannibal was on hand to put away his cross. They left a lot of space for the full-back. He made that late run into space, and he utilized the space, crossed it, it's 2-0. And Southampton did come back into the game late on. I think they went more attacking. We didn't panic. We just continued to do what we were doing. And again, you can see an example here of how we are forcing them across to the side of the pitch they don't want to be in. And that was the whole idea of this. And this works every single time. If you force the opposition to play in the side of the pitch that they don't want to, then they will find it difficult to create chances, and they will find it difficult to defend against you and leave space on the other side. And we continue to dominate the game, really. And Lavery had was it Lavery having a chance there to make it 3-0, but he didn't. Again, we're on there. We're on the right-hand side, and we want to be on our left. We try to work it out to the left as soon as we can. This instance, Lavery has another chance, and it's a good save. And so it really is about forcing their players into areas they don't want to go. And he tries to play them down the left. The goalkeeper tries to play the ball down the left, but there's no one there to actually collect it. And so that's how we played the game. They did attack us at the end, and we kept forcing them wide. That's also part of the plan, force them wide. They were getting desperate, trying crosses from all sorts of areas. We just held on to the ball and looked to play it down to the left every time we could. We're not that great a team, and it didn't always go down the left as it should have done. And we also left spaces at the back, but crosses like that we can deal with every single day. It did come out to the right again, and that's exactly where we want them to be. We want them crossing with their weaker foot from the right, and we dealt with that very easily. Again, we are forcing them to come across, looking to force them to get the ball out to the right. It arrives at the right again. He's forced to cross with his weaker foot, and that's easy to defend. And so if you are going to be facing a team that are much stronger on the on one side than the other, this is the way to do it. Close one side of the field down and then focus your play on the side of the field that they are not strongest, and then put your attacking players on that side of the field. And it's a very simple thing to do, and it will stop you hopefully from getting FM'd, because nobody gets FM'd, you just overlook something. So at the end of the day, we won the match. And we avoided what was potentially a poor result. If you are new to the channel, then why not subscribe, like, watch and comment. Help the channel to grow and help us to support the very worthwhile cause that you can see scrolling above. And if you are brand new to the channel, why not join us on our Swansea save? Things are going very, very well. We haven't hit any banana skins yet. I'm sure we will over the season. But at the moment, things are going very, very well, both in the Premier League and the Champions League. And so with that, I will bid you all farewell. And I will hopefully see many of you soon over at the Liberty Stadium in Swansea for our Swansea save.